Israel Adesanya versus Nassourdine Imavov is set for February 1st, UFC Saudi Arabia. Thank you guys for joining me. My name is Josh Beta. I really appreciate you guys checking this video out. If you can, please give it a like, subscribe. We've got many more videos coming out over the next months. And yeah, we really appreciate the support we've had so far. Let's break down the news. Obviously, last night, I believe it was Engage, which is Israel Adesanya and Ashbel Castro. I believe Alexander Volkanovski has something to do with it as well. Their clothing line, their apparel line, sportswear, put up this photo saying Riyadh season. It does look like the rumored fight between Israel Adesanya and Nassourdine Imavov is going to be headlining the uh, the UFC Saudi Arabia card taking place on February 1st next year. There have been talks, there were talks months ago about Conor McGregor, Dan Hooker. Islam was talked about to make his return potentially in Saudi. Um, but it does look like.
G'day guys, Josh here from the stands, and I'm just here to interrupt this video quickly to let you guys know about the sponsor of today's video, TrainAid, and their Black Friday sale starting on November 18th. All From the Stands viewers will receive a massive 25% off store-wide on all subs and apparel. Use the code FTSBF and take advantage of this amazing offer. Head to trainaid.com or click the link in the description of this video.
We will be getting the return of Israel Adesanya in his first non-title fight since 2019. I mean, you can say what you want about Israel Adesanya. He's a polarizing figure. I get it. A lot of people like him. A lot of people don't like him. I think the more dislike him than they do like him, which is a shame. Speaking from personal experience, I like the guy. I think he is. I think he is one of the nicest and most genuine people I've met. Being around the circles of the UFC, obviously covering UFC 305, there was a moment, where Israel came over to me and introduced himself in a crowd of when there was no one really around, sort of waiting for the opening ceremony. And Israel came over, and he was the first one over there, and he saw myself and someone else standing there, and he introduced himself to us, which was nice, a nice little gesture from him, considering how famous he is. I think a lot of famous people wouldn't be inclined to do that sort of stuff. So I'll always yeah I'll always think Israel's a good guy. I think he's, like I said, he's a polarizing figure, but he is a genuine guy, I do believe, from my dealings with him on that small level. But let's take a look at their records of late. We've got obviously Imavov. I mean, the dude, apart from the loss to Sean Strickland, he has had a good run in the UFC, and it doesn't feel like that though. It feels like he's had losses. I don't know, from a perception standpoint. I think that Strickland loss was such a big blow. Strickland really did a number on Imavov in that fight that it sort of stains your mind and your memory that this is a wild fight. I do think this fight is a good fight for Israel. I think Israel can take advantage of Imavov in a lot of these situations and scenarios. Obviously, Imavov has a good ground game. I think Izzy has very good takedown defense. Obviously, he got caught against Strickers, but I think that was in a bad position. As far as takedown defense goes, Israel has always had some of the best in the middleweight division. So let's look at their records as of late. So it's crazy to think that Israel is one out of his last four. That's an insane stat. One win out of his last four fights is I mean, for the guy who was the pretty much pound for pound number one, number two, number three at certain points, um, it's a wild game, mixed martial arts, and yeah, I guess it's just one of those things. So obviously he had the loss to Dricus du Plessis in their title fight in Perth here in Australia back in August. Lost to Sean Strickland last year again in Australia. Beat Alex Pereira in the rematch, and then lost to Alex in their first encounter in the UFC. We look at Nassourdine's record as of late. Had a decent little run. Beat Brendan Allen by decision. Stopped Jared Cannonier. I think it was somewhat controversial, that stoppage. And a lot of people didn't agree with it. Um, I would have to go back and rewatch that. It's been months since I've seen that scenario between him and Cannonier. So I think we'd have to go back and look at that again. A win against Roman Dolidze, who's no punk. Had the accidental clash of heads with Chris Curtis, and then obviously the loss to Sean Strickland. But I mean, he's beat Joaquin Buckley, Edmund Shabazian, Ian Heinisch. I mean, the dude, he's beat some formidable opponents. I mean, we got to give him credit. Especially, I mean, look at where Joaquin Buckley's at the moment in the welterweight division. Taking on Colby Covington, Ian Gary, those sort of fights tossed about. So, it's an interesting one. It's I think it's a fight that does favor Israel. If it's the same Israel that we saw in Perth, I think that Israel Adesanya, that version that we saw at the RSC Arena in Perth, is one of the best we've seen. I just think styles make fights, and you got to give credit to a guy like Dricus du Plessis who managed to figure Izzy out, managed to just be an absolute dog, and has such a gritty determination aspect in his mind. He just can't be broken, and I think nine out of 10 guys lose to Israel Adesanya on that night. I don't think Dricus du Plessis was one of them. Um, so I think this matchup favors Israel Adesanya, um, which would be good for him to get a win back. Get a win. His first non-title fight is crazy. 2019. I mean, it was Gastelum, which was his last. No, that was an interim title fight. So it'd have to be Silva. Anderson Silva, UFC 243 in Melbourne. I think that was around February of 2019. So we're looking at 5 years since his last non-title fight. Impressive record he held. He's still one of the greatest ever at middleweight. It leaves UFC 312 in a bit of a predicament. We got no Volk versus Lopez, no Israel versus Imavov. I mean, it's looking pretty thin at the moment. I don't know. Maybe things change. I'll probably cover this in another video in the coming days, but I mean, the talk was Izzy versus Imavov at UFC 312. That made sense. Potentially a co-headliner to Volk if he fought Lopez for the interim title. Volk's come out and said that's not happening. Imavov Izzy looks pretty much well set for Riyadh, yeah, February 1st in Saudi Arabia. I don't think you're getting Strickland Dricus. What do you do? It's going to be an interesting little scenario to see how this plays out. But yeah, Australia's run a bit thin on talent at the top end of the bill at the moment. See how that plays out. But yeah, Israel Adesanya, Nassourdine Imavov, pretty well set for February 1st in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, things can change. Obviously, a card is always subject to change. So if you're watching this in a week's time or whatever, and this has changed, please understand that at the current time, it is pretty well set. I mean, if Engage is posting about it, it's pretty well concrete, and you can take the word for what it is. So yeah, interesting times coming up. Looking forward to a good 2025 and some good fights coming into the bill. And yeah, guys, I really appreciate all the support lately. It means a lot to myself, means a lot to Alex and our page and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for checking out this video as well. Leave your thoughts, leave a comment. Let me know who you think wins that fight. If you think Izzy can bounce back with the win, if Imavov can be the one to beat Izzy and add him to his resume, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. And until next time, guys, I will catch you in the next one.